Guys, and welcome to Escape Wheel Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the new IXDAO Engineer. I purchased this watch with a reviewer's discount from the IXDAO official store on AliExpress. Even though I got a discount, you will always get my honest review on this channel. And if by the end of this review you want to pick one of these up, and I think you're going to want to, go down to the video description. There will be an affiliate link down there. You guys don't pay any extra. This channel will benefit from the commission earned, and I'll keep being able to purchase watches like this for the channel. So thank you guys so much for the continued support. The retail price for this watch is $279 US. That's before any taxes or sales, coupons, VAT, etc. I'm shooting this review prior to the 11/11 sale. However, they have let me know that the price is going to be somewhere between $200 and $230 US, and that's before any discounts that AliExpress throws on top. So, yeah, I'm hoping this thing will be right around $200. The watch comes in black, white, teal, and the gray version you see here. You can also get this with the logo only, as you see here, or you can also get this with the IXDAO branding at the 12 o'clock position. You can also choose from one of 3 different high beat movements. You have your Chinese built PT 5000, which is what this one is running. You have the Swiss Solida SW200, or you also have the Swiss ETA 2824. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel, as is the bracelet and clasp. Has a sapphire crystal, a screw down crown, a screw down case back, 100 meters of claimed water resistance, Swiss Super Luminova on the dial and the hands, and it is powered by your choice of those 3 high beat movements. Again, this one is running the PT 5000. So IXDAO seemingly has come out of nowhere. Earlier this year, they released their 5303 diver, which I absolutely love and I have on wrist today. And I mean, they've just kind of blown me away. Some of the watches that they've come up with, they're excellent. And it's all in the execution. That's kind of where they shine. They do a very good job with the finishing, but just the little details is where they really shine. And yeah, it just kind of makes these watches feel a little bit more special than your kind of run-of-the-mill Chinese watches. So yeah, I am very, very happy with this watch. I say we get right into the full review, but before we do, doing a quick wrist check, like I mentioned, the IXDAO 5303. This is a version 1. I like this watch so much that I'm tempted to sell it and get the version 3, since they've added a couple changes to it, which I really do appreciate. And so yeah, if you want to see the review for this one, head right up here. These 2 watches are definitely in the top 5 for my favorite watches in my collection at the moment. So it just kind of goes to show you how much I really like these watches and how well they're done. So yeah, let's get into the full review for this one. All right, so let's get into the dimensions. So we've got a case diameter of 39.5 millimeters. Case thickness is 10.8 millimeters. We've got an integrated bracelet, so lug width is meaningless, but the first lug is 23.5 millimeters wide. We've got a lug tip to lug tip of 45.1 millimeters. And with the first protruding link, we have a overall length of 48.4 millimeters. And the watch sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist with 1 link removed. It weighs 148 grams. So I think the size on this thing is really nice. These integrated bracelet watches, they wear a little bit bigger than normal watches. This one is not any bigger than, you know, a couple of other watches. I've reviewed a couple Pagani designs. I've done a megalith. Those all wore a little bit too big for me. They just felt big and chunky. I'm not sure what magic they're pulling on this thing, but they did a really good job to keep this a very wearable size. I think a lot of it has to do with that case thickness. So you can see here, it's a very flat case, but just 10.8 millimeters thick. It wears very, very nicely. I like the way this watch wears. I think it looks really good. So yeah, I'm going to go outside right now and throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and as you can see, I think it wears great. It wears not too big for an integrated bracelet watch. You do see their very flat case. I kind of wish they would have done something about that, but the ducks approve, as you can hear. But yeah, I think it just looks really, really good. Yeah, it looks great. I can't get over the way that this thing looks on wrist. It just looks excellent. Sadly, we don't have any direct sunlight, but there's tons of anti-reflective coating on this thing, just trying to give you a little bit extra of a different change in lighting from underneath that tree. So yeah, that's just how it looks, and it just wears so nice, so flat, but so low to the wrist, as you can see there. Just excellent. Obviously no straps on this one, so let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about the case finishing on this thing. So the case is done really nice. It's a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces. You can see here you have a circular brushing around the top side of the bezel. You do have a nice polished chamfer right next to the crystal there. Well, you can see it down there at the 6 o'clock. Nice and sharp transitions. It kind of hides itself, but I think it looks really good. You have these circular cutouts as, I guess, decoration on the bezel there. I think they look pretty good. Working our way down, you have another polished chamfer separating the top and the side surface of the bezel. And then again, on the bottom of that, you have a circular brushing. So again, there's like 3 levels of polishing and brushing going on there. A lot going on. And I think they did a very good job of it. I think it looks really, really good. On the case itself, you have a vertical brushing, which again, looks very nice. You can see there, it just has that kind of sheen or that luster that only, you know, the higher end brands off AliExpress get. They did a very good job with that. You have a polished chamfer running along the top edge of the case here. Again, really nicely done. Those chamfers are nice and sharp and just crisp. Brushing on the side of the case, really consistent and even all the way across. I've got 0 complaints with that. I will say this bottom edge here is a little bit sharp. I wish they would take this chamfer and just run it all the way down and back across here. That would soften up this case edge and make this thing just buttery comfortable on wrist. Other than that though, pretty satisfied with it. Again, on this side here, you've got that polished chamfer that runs all the way across. And even on these crown guards, you can see there, I'm not even sure how they made these crown guards or how they got them to stick in there, but yeah, really nicely done. Really thin, low profile crown guard. So you got plenty of grip on the crown, which is good because the crown is a little bit stiff, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But even there though, you got nice little polished chamfers. So everything is done excellent. Very, very happy with that. You do have a signed crown there again. It looks pretty good. So flipping it over to the case back here, you can see you have a circular brushing and polishing on the case back itself. Screw down case back, simple notches to get a tool in there. Everything is done. Perfectly acceptable. You do have a spec sheet kind of around the outside here. It does say anti-magnetic there. I'm not really sure why it says that. I think all movements are kind of anti-magnetic, so maybe that's why they threw that on there. But yeah, I think it's done fine. Here you can see the lug opening. I'll measure that and pop that up on screen, but yeah, I'm not really sure what the lug width is there. And then you've got a vertical brushing on the bottom of the case here. Everything is done pretty nicely, but again, this bottom edge here is the sharpest part of the case, and that does get in contact with your wrist. So it never has bothered me. I wore this out to a fall festival, so I had it on all day, pretty sweaty day, and yeah, it was fine. I had no issues with comfort. I think it was perfectly acceptable. All right, so let's talk about the crystal on this thing. So first we will test it for sapphire. You can see it is positive for sapphire. So it is a flat piece of sapphire crystal with clear and reflective coating. They have tons of air coating on this thing. It's excellent. It's a very simple crystal. There's a slight chamfer, as you can see there on the edge, but that's it. Other than that, it's great. I've got 0 complaints with it. They use plenty of AR coating. It keeps that beautiful dial nice and visible all day long. There are certain times where this crystal just looks like it disappears. So yeah, really happy with the crystal on this thing. Even though it's really simple, it doesn't need to be fancy. It just needs to be good, and this one is very good. All right, so let's talk about the star of the show, in my opinion, and that is the dial. The dial on this thing is amazing. Really, really happy with it. I was kind of worried that this gray dial would look a little bit dull and lifeless. But that's just not the case. There is certain lighting that it just doesn't look great, but I will say most of the time it looks excellent. So you can see here you have applied indices at all the hour markers. Even at the 3 o'clock, you have this little tiny one there. You do have a framed date window there, and then you have a color matched date wheel. So you know, I would have been perfectly happy with a black date wheel on this gray dial, but no, they went and they did a gray date wheel on the gray dial. It's just little things like that, and little things like, you know, looming this little marker here, unnecessary, but they did it. You have your double baton there at the 12 o'clock. They're not really just simple batons. They're kind of faceted and arrowed, pointed a little bit. They look great. They look really, really good. The handset that they used on this is excellent. Perfect size, absolutely perfect size. And the finishing on the hands is just, yeah, I've got 0 complaints with this at all. The logo here, you can see it's kind of printed on its own little special spot on the dial. So it looks really nice, really cleanly done. It's a silver printing. It's not a white printing. So It does catch the light. As you can see here, it's kind of dull, and then it kind of pops when it gets to the light. So same thing down here with the engineer text. Again, I think it's all done very nicely. So you can see the minute track here is printed on its own little ring here, and those are concentric circles around the outside. I think it's done very, very nicely. I've got zero complaints with the printing on it. The indices are all applied pretty straight as well, and you can definitely tell because of that pattern. It's pretty easy to spot when they're not applied straight. So I'm happy to say that my dial is done really, really nicely. So let's talk about the patterning on this dial. So you kind of have these little squares, and then you have kind of like Kit Kat bars. Really, really a cool pattern. Obviously, this is lifted from a different watch, but really nicely done here. This gray dial, it doesn't really have any sheen to it. I mean, there's a little bit of sheen to it, but it's just the right amount, in my opinion. I'm hoping it comes across here. If not, I'm going to pop up some B-roll, kind of show you this watch in different lighting conditions right now, and you can definitely see how it plays with the different lights. I think it looks great. They just nailed the dial on this thing. They did a really good job with it. Getting back to real life here, I'm going to pop up a lume shot here, and the lume on this watch is very good. It is Swiss BGW9. It is applied to all the dial and the hands, and as you can see here, the lume on this thing is better than it needs to be. I wasn't expecting the lume to be great on this thing, but it's really good for what it is. I will still say it's not quite, dive watch good, but it lasts all night long, and that is more than I expected out of this watch. So I'm very happy with the lume on this thing. All right, so let's talk about the movement and the crown. So the movement inside this one is the PT5000. It is a hand winding and hacking dual directional winding rotor. About 40 hours of power reserve. It's based on the ETA 2824. So 28,800 beats per hour, so 8 ticks of the second hand, nice and smooth there. This one is running excellent, as you can see here, 2 seconds a day fast. I've got no complaints with the beat air. It's been a great movement for me. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely fantastic. So the movement is operated by this 3 o'clock screw down crown here. This is one of my complaints with the watch. It has a pretty gritty screw in and screw out action. I feel like if I press the crown in while I'm unscrewing, it gets a little bit easier. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. It just could be a little bit cleaner in those threads. You do have a pretty decent satisfying pop out from the crown there. First position is your, whoops, I went out too far. First position is your hand winding, which I'm not going to do too much. If you guys aren't aware, all these ETA 2824 based clones, they all have the same problem. Even the Swiss Solida SW200, even the ETA itself. And that's something in the winding. If you wind this too much, it tends to break the movement. So what I do is I either shake the watch a little bit to get the hand going, and then I set the time, or I'll wind it just a couple times just to get the hands moving, and then I'll set the time. So I don't wind these watches much at all. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. If you keep the hand winding to a minimum, these movements should last a very long time. But getting back to the movements, you have your first position, which is your hand winding. You have your second position here, which is your date change. So nice snappy date change there, as you can see. Third position is your your time setting. We're going to check the snap over time for midnight. So let's see how close they got to midnight snap over. It's an instant changeover. You can see it kind of moving already. Boom. So yeah, they're about 30 seconds off, I'd say. That is pretty good in my opinion. So yeah, I'm very satisfied with the movement on this thing, very satisfied with the QC on this thing. It is excellent. Very, very good. And yeah, I think the accuracy of this movement is just bang on. It's hard to complain with a movement like this, especially when it's running so well. The screw in action, like I said, it's a little bit heavy, especially when you've been wearing this watch for a while. And that's just because you are winding the movement as you are screwing it in. So just something to keep in mind. It is a little bit heavy, but I think, it's not guarded enough that it's an issue. I'm able to get it in there pretty easy. So yeah, just something to note. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet on this thing. And the bracelet is very nicely done. Like I mentioned earlier, it's 23.5 millimeters at this first link, and it tapers down to 18 millimeters at the clasp. You have solid links. You have the solid end link, I guess, I don't know. But yeah, the bracelet drapes straight down, as you can see here. Very happy with it. It's nice and fluid, as you can see there. The finishing on it is just perfect. Really happy with the finishing. Brushing on the tops, brushing on the sides, and then you have polished chamfers like everywhere on this thing, as you can see here. So it kind of follows the case here, and again, it get right on that edge there. You got a nice polished chamfer all the way down. Even these center links here, they are polished on all four sides, so you get a lot of sparkle from the bracelet, but also kind of this industrial brushed finish everywhere else. I think it's just right. They nailed it. The bottom edge of the bracelet is very soft. You have screw pins for sizing. I removed one link for my 7.5 inch wrist, so if you have anything like an 8 inch wrist, you're going to probably want to ask for more links. But yeah, no half links, no micro adjust. That's my only real complaint with this bracelet. A butterfly clasp, again, you guys know I'm not a fan of butterfly clasps, but this one is actually pretty good. Yeah, nice and solid feeling. These buttons are nice and smooth and rounded off nicely, so they aren't digging into the wrist or anything like that. It is branded nicely with the IXDAO branding and the IXDAO logo there. So yeah, I can't complain too much about the bracelet. I do wish they had half links, and that would make this thing just perfect. I was able to get a good fit. The fitment I got with removing just one link is pretty much perfect. So yeah, I think with half links, this thing would just be a killer bracelet. As it is, though, the bracelet is very nice. You can see there's not much flex in this thing. There's not much jangle or rattle to it. It is a very, very good bracelet. I am just kind of blown away with this thing. So yeah, I think the bracelet is a big selling point of this watch. So there you go, guys. That is the IXDAO Engineer. Again, just kind of blown away with this watch. You know, the things that really kind of put it over the top for me, the thickness, 10.8 millimeters thick, and you can see here just a razor thin rehaut. So there's no added thickness to this thing. A perfectly color matched date wheel. You have great lume. You have that killer dial. The finishing on this thing, the brushing is just really, it has a nice luster and a nice sheen to it. Something that just a couple Chinese brands do, Sugas and San Martin. Everybody else just kind of falls short in that category. Then you have all these little polished bits. Yeah, I think the finishing on this watch is excellent. I think the price of this watch is excellent. You know, a watch like this from San Martin would be in the $350 range. So this one's cutting that almost by $100. It's really hard to complain with that. The things that I would change on this thing, if I was going to do anything, there's a couple changes that I would make to this. One would be one of those kind of spring-loaded crowns that Sugas loves to use. They use a crown which is, like I said, it's spring-loaded. So when you're screwing it in, you're only screwing it in. You're not winding the movement. So if they can make that change, that would be a big help. The second thing, half links on the bracelet. I don't mind if you use a butterfly clasp, but I think you need to put half links on the bracelet so you're able to get a good fitment. And then the last thing I would do is just concentrate on the consistency of the polishing and the brushing. The brushing I've had no complaints with at all. Even the polishing is done very nicely, except one location. You can see on this link here, it's like these first two links. The polished chamfer on this side is a little bit bigger than the polished chamfer on that side. If they could even that out, this thing would be excellent. Someone else also mentioned that theirs was the same way, so I just wanted to point that out. Mine is not any different, but thankfully it's on the top of the watch, so I wear it like this, so I don't really see it. If it was on this side, it would definitely bother me a little bit more. But as it is, that's a pretty minor thing in my opinion. But these watches are incredible. I was almost put off on the whole integrated, stainless steel sports watch. I was almost put off on it. I've tried a whole bunch of them, and I just never liked any of them. This one I like, and I like it a lot. So yeah, that's my review, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.